Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Convergence Labs. I'm Susan Butler. I'm an author and artist, and I'm very pleased to be here with you for this second of the three-part flash course on creating powerful writing. Um, just to describe myself briefly, I'm a mixed-race Black woman with a curly afro, and on the wall behind me, there's an abstract print. In this session of creating powerful writing, we're going to focus on some tips, tools, and techniques that can help take writing in any form or genre and give it more impact. And of course, there are countless strategies out there, but these are just a few of my personal favorites and a few that I really hope that you'll find useful. So, what we're going to cover in this 10-minute video on making your writing stronger. I'm going to show you some ways of starting with existing characters and stories and putting your own spin on them. We touched on that a little bit in the first video, but we'll go into more detail here. There's one specific technique that I really like called defamiliarization, and I'm going to tell you what that is, show you an example of how it's used, and give you an exercise to see if maybe you'd like to use it in your own work. And finally, we'll talk about appealing to the reader's emotions using the character's five senses. And this is a really great way of getting your writing to have an immediate embodied impact straight away. So, I'm sure that you are already familiar with countless characters and character types through books, poems, movies, comics, video games. You've encountered countless heroes, villains, helpers, lovers, you name it. And writers use these types again and again, borrowing from existing work and putting their own spin on them. So ask yourself, where do you find characters and stories that are interesting to you? Maybe you connect with a comic book hero, figures on tarot cards, or people from religious texts or myths. And once you start to feel out who or what feels like a really compelling character to center your work on, I suggest trying to shift an element or two to add complexity and make them your own. Because a lot of these characters and character types can feel a little bit pre-packaged if we just take them as they are from their source material. They can be flat, they can feel like models rather than real complex characters. So shifting an element or two is what I think will help you use something that you're already interested in, that already exists, and make it feel a bit more human and a bit more real. So, for example, you might think, how might your favorite religious figure operate in the modern world? Or what if one element of a mythical figure changed to introduce some kind of contradiction? And an example of this might be, what if Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, existed in a world without romance or sex? And what if in your story, she wasn't considered beautiful, which is one of the key features of the Aphrodite or Venus myth? Bringing in some kind of contradiction not only adds complexity, but it also adds the potential for conflict and a way of surprising your reader. Defamiliarization is a multi-syllable word that is very much a mouthful. And it can be a little bit difficult to get just in the abstract. Don't worry, in the very next slide, we're going to look at an example of one of the most brilliant ways I think an author has used this technique. And hopefully it'll show you how you can do it too. So the term comes from an early 20th century Russian literary critic, Viktor Shukovsky, from his essay Art as Technique. I think that this is a fantastic way of creating very distinctive characters, and also doing some social critique in your work. So, what it essentially does is it takes something familiar and makes it strange. And so there's a sense of denaturalizing it and giving the character who's encountering this object or situation a unique way of seeing and being in the world. And if you're confused, hopefully this should clear it up. I want to bring in an example from one of my favorite novels. This is Toni Morrison's first novel called The Bluest Eye. In the little segment that I'm about to read to you and also show you up on the screen, the main character, who's speaking directly to the reader, is a young girl named Claudia McTeer. Claudia is a 9-year-old Black girl who lives with her family in Ohio in the United States. And she's talking about the gift that she's given for Christmas. It had begun with Christmas and the gift of dolls. The big, the special, the loving gift was always a big, blue-eyed baby doll. From the clucking sounds of adults, I knew that the doll represented what they thought was my fondest wish. I was bemused by the thing itself and the way it looked. What was I supposed to do with it? Pretend I was its mother? I had no interest in babies or the concept of motherhood. I was only interested in humans my own age and size, and could not generate any enthusiasm at the prospect of being a mother. Motherhood was old age and other remote possibilities. I learned quickly, however, what I was expected to do with the doll. Rock it, fabricate storied situations around it, even sleep with it. Picture books were full of little girls sleeping with their dolls. Other dolls, which were supposed to bring me great pleasure, succeeded in doing quite the opposite. When I took it to bed, its hard, unyielding limbs resisted my flesh. The tapered fingertips on those dimpled hands scratched. If in sleep I turned, the bone-cold head collided with my own. It was a most uncomfortable, patently aggressive sleeping companion. To hold it was no more rewarding. The starched gauze or lace on the cotton dress irritated any embrace. I had only one desire: to dismember it, to see what it was made of, to discover the dearness, to find the beauty, the desirability that had escaped me, but apparently only me. Adults, older girls, shops, magazines, newspapers, window signs, all the world had agreed that a blue-eyed, yellow-haired, pink-skinned doll was what every girl child cherished. So here's an exercise that might allow you to start using defamiliarization in your own work. Give your character an encounter with an ordinary object which, for them, is somehow oppressive. If you can't think of anything, copy Toni Morrison and use a baby doll. What does your character think and feel about the object? How do they describe the object in ways that other people would not? Can they destroy it? The next thing to look at as you're creating work that you want to be really powerful, really impactful, really connect with the reader, I'm going to go ahead and quote my good old fave, Octavia Butler, once again. She wrote in one of the notebooks that she kept, "Tell stories filled with facts, make people touch and taste and know, make people feel, feel, feel." And so here she's really encouraging us to think about the relationship between information and emotion, the relationship between facts and feelings and our senses. And if we can really excite and ignite the senses of our reader along with our characters, then we've really got them. So, here are some ways that you can bring that big sense of feeling into your work. Try playing with the way that words sound. So, go ahead and write a passage and then look at the individual words in your passage. Then you can use a thesaurus. I generally go to thesaurus.com. I've also got a paper one lying around somewhere. And look for words that mean the same thing, but the sounds match the tone of what you're writing. Next, think about using active words, and here's what I mean. Instead of writing, she was in the kitchen, try using more interesting active words, like she lingered in the kitchen or she pottered about the kitchen. Finally, allow your characters to experience the world in like an immediate, sense-based way. What do they see, taste, and smell? How did their clothes or the air feel on their skin? How did their emotions feel in their body? Here I'm offering another exercise that you might try. Write a character's journey from their home to a place of confrontation with some oppressive power in their life. So if you're writing in one kind of genre, this could be the castle of a tyrant. In another genre, it might be the dole office. But for this exercise, I want you to focus more on the journey than on the destination. As you're writing, concentrate on the character's observations through their senses to make the imagery immediate for the reader. You can use the physical senses, taste, touch, sight, hearing, and smell. And you could also bring in the metaphysical senses, things like proprioception, our 50p word for the day. That's an awareness of the position and movement of the body in space. Like proprioception is sometimes referred to as the sixth sense. It's like if there's someone in the room behind you, the hairs on the back of your neck might stand up before you've seen them or heard them. So that's what that means. Telepathy, the ability to kind of read other people's minds. Clairvoyance, the ability to know the future. Intuition, people's gut reactions. So this is an exercise that really asks you to linger over these senses, both the physical ones, and if it's your kind of thing, you might think about metaphysical or like sixth senses as well. So that's all we've got for this session. I hope you'll join me in the next one, and happy writing.